I knew it. Keir Starmer was far right all along. Well, at least according to what he said previously. So welcome back, Black Belt Barrister Off the Record. I'll tell you as it is what I really think. And what I really think is, actually, I don't think he's far right. I don't think he's been far right all along. I think he just flip-flops to whatever he thinks people say that he should say and do at any one time. Because this report is expected to suggest that he absolutely should order a full national inquiry into the grooming gangs. But do you remember what he said back in January when other people were pushing for this massive national inquiry? This is what he said.
Calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right, then that affects politics.
So not only did he say that such a suggestion affects politics, and obviously he meant in a bad way, calling for such an inquiry affects politics. Not only was that bad enough as it is, to suggest that that's a bad thing, that it's going to affect politics in a negative way, to call for an inquiry like that, but worse than that, he insulted the entire victim base of these grooming gangs nationwide for decades. He insulted each and every single one of them when he suggested that this was, quote, a bandwagon of the far right onto which people were jumping to score their political points. Now, I'm not sure about you, but I'm kind of sick of this kind of attacking each other in politics as though it's just a point scoring system and who is more popular on the given day, given what's going on, what's being said, who needs to do what, where, when, how and why. Because this inquiry clearly needs to happen to find out exactly what happened so that the victims of all these crimes can get proper justice. Because it is not going to happen unless there is a full inquiry and everybody knows the full extent of what happened, when, where, to whom, by whom, and hold each of them accountable. But obviously, I say somewhat rather tongue-in-cheek, Keir Starmer must now be far right, because if he is now calling for the inquiry that literally a few months ago he was saying that people are jumping on the bandwagon of the far right, presumably to score political points, which he said affects politics in a negative way, that is quite insulting. And that is not what we really should be signing up for in British politics. But speaking of things that we shouldn't be signing up for, we also shouldn't be signing up for people being dishonest, ministers being dishonest with the general public. Now, Darren Jones has obviously now not quite admitted that he was wrong, but said that it was misrepresented, that what he said was misrepresented. So it's not quite a full-on apology and recounting of what he said. But for even to get to a point where a minister is saying something that is not even entirely true, but is actually quite patently false and demonstrably false by the government's own statistics, is quite another matter. But also given not just on statistics, but general points of understanding and such things as well. We have other ministers, I'm not going to name and shame everybody because we'll be here all day, but we have other ministers talking about the High Court judgment on VAT on school fees. Now, I'm not sure where you stand on the VAT on school fees thing. It might be that you think, yeah, they should pay the VAT. And if that's the case, fine, that's where you stand. And I'm not going to ridicule you on that. If that's your stance, then that's absolutely fine. You can hold that. I personally, and I hope that you will still get along with me and we can have an adult conversation if I say to you that I think that the VAT on school fees is abhorrent. That's not me saying you are. If you believe that's okay, I'm not saying you are abhorrent. I'm saying the policy is. You might agree with the policy. That's not a reflection on you in the sense of what I think about you. We can disagree on things. We can agree to disagree on things. And that's just that. And that is what it is. But one MP today said, and I had to call this out, one MP today said that it was crazy that this case got to the High Court in the first place. However, I would respectfully suggest that said minister that said that, or anyone that would say that and think that, hasn't actually read the judgment. Because if you read the judgments, now I've dealt with this a little bit more detail on Black Belt Barrister today, so you can go and check that out as well. But in short, and this is why I think, this is what I really think, and this is why I think people that make comments on these things and demonstrably do not understand the judgment, the principles, and what really goes to the heart of this judgment and what it means, is the following. Because the court actually found that this policy does interfere with individuals' rights under Article 2, Protocol 1, which is the right to education, and Article 14, which is freedom from discrimination. But the court then also said, in the circumstances of this case, this legislature has a broad margin of discretion in deciding how to balance the interests of those adversely affected by the policy against the interest of others who may gain from this policy. In other words, the court has said, well, this interferes with the right to education. It interferes with the freedom from discrimination, which I said would be the case. I said many, many times, I said that the court is likely to find that this is discriminatory and that it interferes with the right to education. I've said that all along since they introduced since they first said they were going to introduce this policy and then introduced the policy right in the middle of a year in January. I said that this is discriminatory and it would interfere with the right to education. And it turns out the court agrees with me. The only thing is they are chalking this up as a win that we should not be proud of. They are chalking it up as a win because the court ultimately said, but it's for the government to decide. If the government thinks that this is better for the vast majority and to hell with the rest, then fine, the government can do that. And it's not really the court's place to overrule the government's tax policies. That's why they won. But I respectfully suggest that some people saying, I don't know why that ended up in the High Court in the first place. I respectfully suggest they've got no clue what the judgment really means. They probably haven't read it. They probably wouldn't understand it if they did read it, because if they have that mindset of that way of thinking about this kind of a judgment, this kind of case in the first place, they probably wouldn't understand it. And if they didn't understand it, they probably just wouldn't care what it said anyway. So I just think that itself is abhorrent. I think it's willfully ignorant if people think that that is okay, that a government can make a policy that the court agrees discriminates and interferes with the rights of children to education. I mean, it's bizarre to even say that. But that's what it is. I think it's utterly outrageous if the court will agree that this interferes with the right to education. It does discriminate, but it's down to the government to decide what they do. And speaking of things that I think are irritating, I've also got a bit of a copyright issue lately. I get copyright issues all the time. Now, to date, I will say that any copyright claims against me that have been wrong have been resolved in my favour, and any copyright claims that I've had to make against others have resolved very quickly and usually okay. TikTok takes a lot longer. YouTube has normally been within 1 or 2 hours, i.e. where someone has taken my whole video, it's gone within a couple of hours of me filing a report. TikTok can take weeks. TikTok can do it in a day or two. It varies with TikTok. So I think that's a little bit more of a sort of moving target. YouTube, on the other hand, 1 or 2 hours, normally bam, and it's gone. Really, really fast. However, Hindustan Times took one of my videos and they played it in the middle of what I didn't watch the whole thing, but it appeared to be a live Nigel Farage speech. Now, I didn't watch it live, for the record, because, well, for one, it would require a TV license, and regardless, it was flagged up to me on my YouTube panel for copyright claims. The auto match tool, it found it and alerted me, so I went through to that, found that it was a video. It was about 48 minutes into that video. They used my video in its entirety. It seemed to be a break in the broadcast of Nigel Farage's speech for reform or whatever. And about 48 minutes in, for whatever reason, they jumped to my video, one of my videos, and they played it in full, the entire video. They even watermarked the damn thing. The cheek of it to watermark my video on their channel, and they didn't even acknowledge or accredit my channel with a link in the description or whatever. Now, just the other day, the Daily Mail came to me and they said, can you assist with this article? We'd like to, refine the wording of what we, they're quoting me from a video. So they said, can we refine the wording? And so, yeah, sure. I, perfected the wording or whatever. They said, may we use part of the video? And I said, well, can you link to my channel if you do that? And they said, yeah, that's fine. So that was fine. That's how it should work. It's courteous. It's respectful. It respects the rights of copyright, which, by the way, it is not It is not fair dealing or fair use to just use someone else's video and then say it's theirs and point back to them. That's not enough. It has to be, you have to be adding something to it, or it's got to be proper news reporting or something like that. You can't just reuse it. Like some people call it mirror, and then that's okay. They think that's okay. It's not. You can't just mirror someone's content. That is abuse of copyright. So Daily Mail used a small snippet of my video. They linked back to my channel, and that was that. So it's courteous, respectful, and it respects the rights of copyright owners. Hindustan Times, on the other hand, they've just reproduced my entire video, and that's it. No accreditation, nothing. For whatever reason, they just reused my entire video. Now, my problem here is this, and I'm hoping that it gets resolved, because it's with YouTube at the moment, with some senior officers at YouTube to look at this and sort it out. But ordinarily, every copyright claim that I've filed on YouTube so far has taken 1 or 2 hours, and I've gone back and checked. I've got dozens of them because people re-upload my content. I've gone back and checked. Dozens of these previous filings, within 1 or 2 hours, they've been resolved. Bam, they're gone. The infringing video is gone. There's 1 or 2 that YouTubers thought, yeah, it's just about fair dealing. You can go to court if you really want to take it down. So like, okay, fine, leave that one. But that's only ever happened once or twice. But this one video, not 1 or 2 hours, it's still there. It's still live, and it's 2.5 days now since I filed that report. 2.5 days, not 1 or 2 hours, 2.5 days. So it's still under review. I've heard nothing else about it. I've alerted my contacts at YouTube about it. They are looking into it. I hope they resolve it. But I can only think that it's because this channel that's infringing it has got over 8 million subscribers. All the other channels, bless them, they've got like 2,000 subscribers or a few hundred subscribers, or once or twice, 50, 60, 70, whatever, thousand subscribers. And so they're bigger channels, but it doesn't matter. 1 or 2 hours, bam, and they're gone. This one's got 8 million subscribers. So I do hope that this doesn't make any difference, because it shouldn't make any difference, because copyright works in the same way. We have something called the Berne Convention, which is an international convention whereby different countries of members will abide by the copyright rules and legislation in each country, etc. Hindustan Times is based in India. I've just fired off a letter before action to dozens of their staff, including their grievance staff, and some association for some code of ethics. I copied them in, because the irony is their code of ethics says that they respect copyright, and they'll seek permission first, and they'll pay royalties or license fees and this sort of stuff, which they should do under copyright law. They didn't. They haven't. They've just used my video without my permission, regardless. So I've fired up a letter before action to them, as well as the complaint that I've filed with YouTube. But 2.5 days in now, and nothing. So I hope that it gets sorted, because otherwise this will be a problem, because I will have no choice but to go straight to the High Court for an injunction to get it taken down, and they will abide by that. Well, they should have to abide by that under Indian law and jurisdiction, because they are a member to the Berne Convention, so they should honour a judgment of the Court of England and Wales, the High Court of England and Wales, well, the media division. So there's another grievance for you. Behind, off the record, behind the scenes kind of stuff. This is the kind of rubbish I have to deal with. Just the other day on the issue of copyright, I've had 2 or 3. I actually put one on the community post. I don't know if I put it on here. I definitely put it on my main channel, BlackBeltBarrister. But TikTok's terrible for this. Not TikTok, but the users on TikTok are terrible for this. They snip my videos into shorts and then flood TikTok with them. They get tens or hundreds of thousands of views, and they're making money off my videos. And the weird thing is, I get some people in the comments sometimes saying, isn't that a good thing that they are spreading your name around? I'm thinking, well, no, because then people are watching their channel instead of my channel, and they are making money off it. And yes, I make money on my channels. That's no secret, okay? But they are making money with my content. That's just not allowed. And then some people say, oh, but they've transformed it because they've snipped it into a shorter version, like 8 parts. But that doesn't matter. It's still my content. They can't just slice it up and use my content like that. It's still breach of copyright. Criminally so, if they are doing it to make money. So if you see these accounts, you can report them as Believe it or not, I'm listed as a celebrity on TikTok. Yeah, I know it's kind of humbling and embarrassing at the same time, but I'm listed as a celebrity on there. If you see a channel or an account on TikTok, you probably don't use, if you're on YouTube, you probably don't use TikTok, and I find the reverse is true as well. In fact, most people on YouTube say, why are you on TikTok? And most people on TikTok say, why are you on YouTube? And interestingly enough, people, I'm rambling now, but it doesn't matter, but people on either platform say that the other one is for children or kids. They say, YouTube's for kids or TikTok's for kids. And I find that people say it both ways around. I find that really strange. But if you happen to be on there and you see one of these channels that's ripping off loads of my videos, report it as impersonating me, because if a few people do that, they tend to ban the account really quickly. Whereas if I have to painstakingly go back and find the video on YouTube of mine that they've stolen, get the link, and then each and every URL on TikTok that they've reproduced my content, and I fill in a whole form, putting all the links in, and then it could take weeks before they actually take it down. By which point they've made thousands of pounds off my content. Literally thousands and thousands, I think they make off my content. So that's really irritating. It's not cool. It's not allowed. So if you see it, please do report it or alert me to it, and I'll try and sort it out. But there we go. We're living in a land of really irritating things at the moment. So apparently Keir Starmer's far right, according to what he said previously, always just a hypocrite, and now he's doing what people telling him that he should do and should have done all along. But at least he's doing it. Credit where it's due. At least he's doing it. At least he's ordered the report. So there we go. A few off-the-record things that I have to deal with. Let me know your thoughts, comments below, requests, queries, everything else I'll do. And do subscribe to the channel. Help me. I'm so pleased that it's growing and you've all joined me here for this off-the-record stuff. Let's get to 100,000 subscribers on here. I'll get another plaque on the wall. That's really cool to look at. And it's thanks to you guys. I see it as your plaque. It's our plaque to share. That's why I put it on the wall so you guys can see it. And we've earned it together. So thank you for watching. Comments below. This is Black Belt Barrister Off the Record, signing off.